Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody tonight? Well, we got to 28.15 in my gold. What a happy day. Well, 20, it ended at 2800, but 28.15. It was there. And then about 3 o'clock, the US, for some reason, had to still try to do derivatives to lower the price. So they're doing a short at 28.15 and it'll go to 2900 and off it goes. Anyway. So just 1 second. Now I'm cooking chicken because I haven't had a chance all day. I worked, but the chicken was frozen. So anyway, now all right. So gold got up to 28.15, which is what I told you yesterday, that once the Chinese got it, there was a run about 5 in the morning. It went from 27.90 to 28.05, and then it proceeded about 11, 12 o'clock to go to 28.15, and then a little dropping at the end, nothing big. Closed till Sunday night. Sunday night, China gets a hold of it again. So we're always looking at it after the U.S. does their derivatives to lower the price on it. And we're never, so we're not doing the show unless I'm in Europe at, when China's having fun and the price is going up. So it's always a little deceiving that the price is always a little bit lower, this time of day. Anyway, so all's good there. I didn't buy any today because it's rent and everything else. I'll buy probably in 2 weeks if there's still any. There'll be gold left, but it'll be high. There'll be some. It's not profit taking. It's not consolidation. It's derivatives. Let's call a spade a spade. JP Morgan does the derivatives, lowers the price. That's why the price goes down. Once you get them out of there, it just won't go down because nobody in their right mind selling gold at these cheap prices. I mean, there's no way because the key concept is I don't want to be in paper. I don't want to be in monopoly money. And if I don't want to be in it, why would I sell my gold to get into this? So it makes no sense that would be what's happening. So quick story, I go to the pool and, so I worked from home and then I go to the pool about 4 o'clock and then I'm done and I'm hungry. And I said, you know what, I'll go get, what is it? It's a pizza, but it's Jets pizza. So I'm going to go get a Jets pizza. Now, Little Caesars I can get for $6. A small, but it's like 8 pieces, pepperoni, and it's fine, right? We know we're getting carbs in the bread and the cheese, so it's not very healthy, but it's not. It's when I get Chinese tomorrow, and I had barbecue Martin Luther King Day, so it's like, okay, we'll get you get in the mood, we'll have a pizza. So I go to Jets. I'm ordering the little 4-corner with hamburger, onion, and pepper, green pepper, which I normally get. It's only about $10, $12. Guy wanted $17 for it today. Now, could I afford it? Yes, but it wasn't a fair trade. If I can get Little Caesars for $6 or $7, the amount of hamburger and onions and peppers they put on it is nothing. In my omelet, I put, the broccoli, I put a lot of orange and red and yellow peppers in it. I put a lot of onion. I mean, compared to what I put in it, you're getting a little, it's not worth it. So it ended up being like $16, $17. And I said to myself, I can go buy a New York strip, which they had at the grocery store, for $13 for a pound of it. And it's healthy and it's, so this is the point of Austrian economics that we're going to talk about, is competition and free markets and substitute goods, all the goody stuff. So this is why nobody knows how to run their business. Jets Pizza buys their inventory, which is going to be bread and cheese, the little hamburger, the little toppings, $1.99 a topping. So you're giving me how much? You're giving me little breadcrumbs of hamburger that I just bought. I ended up going to the grocery store and I got hamburger and I got chicken already made. And I got the little Chinese ribs that I love. And, so I got that. And, I'm sitting there. The goal of the pizza place or Wendy's or McDonald's or anything is to buy inventory and sell it. And hold that thought. I got to turn over my chicken. So just 1 second. Sorry about that, but I know exactly where I left off. So at 8:23, I turn off the chicken. I don't have to turn it over again. It's got a nice little golden tinge because I put honey in the dressing. I made it with honey, my Celtic salt, my cayenne pepper, garlic, basil, and the French Ken's dressing and a little olive oil. And I put it in a cup and I just stir it up, shuffle the deck, and just put in. The problem's the honey, because you got to get the honey off the spoon. But I was able to get most of it off and mix it in, and I'll eat it tomorrow. But anyway, so the goal of McDonald's, Wendy's, the pizza places, is to buy their inventory and sell it. That's what the grocery store does. That's what every business in America, spark plugs, tires, batteries, food, clothing, beds, couches, you name what they're selling, their goal is to buy the inventory and mark it up and sell it. But you've got to know what your market is and what they're going to pay for it and what's the competition. Very, very important. So what rule did Jets Pizza make? Well, first of all, it's it's 4 pieces. It's thick crust, but it's 4 pieces. So your first rule is, I don't know what they're selling the pizza for. I kept asking. He kept saying $16.99 or something. I go, no, without the toppings, how much is it? And he said like $15. I says, well, that can't be right. You're charging me $1.99 for a topping. I says, is there a topping included? He says, no. So you want to charge me $6 for 3 toppings? Are you fucking out of your mind? Especially at $1.99. Especially you're just giving me a little bit of toppings. So when looking at it, he doesn't understand that I can get Little Caesars for $6, maybe $7. He doesn't understand for what he's charging $17 for 3 little toppings that should be 50 cents each. And there should at least be one that comes with. I mean, at Little Caesars, I get pepperoni on it. That's included in the price. So you're not giving me any topping in the price. And then you want to charge me $2 a topping. So my small pizza, 4 pieces, is going to run me $16. And it's not competitive. I was very stoic. I said, you're too expensive. I can go buy a New York strip, $13 for $13 for a pound. And I'd rather have a New York strip than your little pizza, which is all bread and cheese with a tiny bit of hamburger and onions and green peppers. So I said, you're too expensive. And I turned around and I walked out. I wasn't mean. I didn't yell. And I just lied. I said, you're too expensive. I mean, I'm not going to pay $17 for a fucking little pizza that used to cost me $9 or $10. Again, this is a small pizza. Now, we fully understand there is inflation and what inflation is. The value of the dollar is dropping. I get it. That doesn't give you license to steal and doesn't give you the authority to overcharge me and not understand that I can get Little Caesars for $7, a small, just like I'm getting, and or I can get a New York strip for $13 a pound. I went to my normal grocery store that I buy the meats at. It's $13 a pound. He was 16 or 17 on the Delmonico, but again, well, I'll get to New York then. And if the New York was 17 and Delmonico is 13, I'd get to Delmonico. Whatever the best price is, because I don't care. It's just steak. And I can cook it better. So for $13, I can get a pound and cook it. So the problem is Jets will be out of business soon because they're too expensive. Because if I really want pizza, I can get Little Caesars for $6. Why would I spend $17 on 4 pieces of pizza? It's not, much tastier. It's carbs, so it's all sugar. We know, so it's not healthy. It's a one-off. It's because I haven't had any, and I just wanted a quick meal. And tomorrow I'll get Chinese, so fine. It was just something that once in a while you go, yeah, I'd like to get a pizza. That's the beauty of the U.S. where we have options. So he doesn't want to, you're non-competitive. This is a small pizza. This isn't a large pizza. I would probably think I'd spend 17 on a large. But knowing what we know about health and carbs and bread and cheese, I don't want to eat pizza anyway. So if I do eat it, it's going to be very one-offish, right? So I was like, you're out of your mind. And I basically made a very stoic decision going, no, a small pizza for $17 with 3 little bits of burger and onion and green pepper are not worth it. For $17, I could go get chicken and ribs at my barbecue place. I can get Chinese, cost me with one egg roll, like $18 with one egg roll. The barbecues, I think $22 for the ribs and the chicken. But they're healthy meals. And there's nothing here that you don't warrant charging me $17 for a small with a few toppings. So you can bitch about inflation. You're not competitive. You're not competing with the marketplace. I would have given you maybe $11, $12, probably max, just because it would be convenient, and I kind of had the mood for pizza. But $17, if you've been to Big Boy lately, you get a burger. If I get the double all-American burger, whatever, and a salad, it's like $17. And I'm laughing. This is why I go to the grocery store. So I ended up going to the grocery store. I actually didn't get the steak. I didn't like what I saw. The New Yorks were 13, but they didn't look good. So I got hamburger. I got the 90% sirloin at $5 a pound if you buy 3 pounds. So I got a pound and a half and a pound and a half. And I'll take my time eating them because I know how it's going to affect my feet. But if I just cook I used to cook 3 pounds, which would make 8 hamburgers and or 9 hamburgers, and I would simply eat the hamburgers in 3 or 4 days. It was too much meat for me. But by doing 1.5 pounds, I make 5 hamburgers. I can eat it over like 4 days, and my feet are okay. Let me just turn off my chicken, and I'll be right back with more stories, more goodies. All right, so this is the prime reason that I should be running companies or being an advisor to companies. They don't get the basic premise of economics, which is, what is my market? If I was running Jets, my small pizza I would give you a topping. What is my cost? It's probably nothing for the dough and the cheese. That hasn't gone up. And, I'd probably sell it I'd keep it at $11. That would be my goal, $11. Maybe I only sell 3 pieces for $11, not 4. But I've got to hit my price target. I've got to hit my market. Like I told the rib guy, if you make your slab $44, say goodbye to your restaurant. Nobody will buy it. You'll piss everybody off. You won't have any customers. You can't do it. He's at 30, and he's pretty much stayed at 30. He's pretty much listened to me. And I basically saved the barbecue restaurant because they can't raise their price. So the same thing here. My competition's Little Caesars and Papa Romano's and whatever else, these pizza places. There's so many of them because their costs are nothing. But it doesn't matter. The bottom line is you've got to be at market. As I told the Camry guy, you can't sell the Camry at $35,000. The market's $25,000. I paid $24,000 for it. That's your market. Don't try to sell the Camry for $35,000 into a market that's $25,000. It isn't going to work. And now he's back down to 26 or 27, and he's selling them now. He listens to me. I should be running that place. I should just have a consultant firm saying, well, what's your market? Let's figure out your market. And that's your selling price. And if your cost is too high, then you got to go out of business, or you got to figure out a way. So if I'm Jets Pizza, I turn it into a 3-piece small, which would have been fine. I would rather pay $9 for 3 pieces than $17 for 4. And then you could save on your little $1.99 for a topping that's maybe costing you 15 cents. Again, I'm buying hamburger at $5 a pound, 90 sirloin. And you're giving me how many little, you're not even giving me 1/10 of an ounce. That's 50 cents. Maybe. Okay, has your electricity gone up? Maybe a little. Your ovens, maybe a little. Maybe your utilities have gone up a little bit. And that's it. But it doesn't matter. Your costs are immaterial to the selling price. In other words, you can sell the pizza at your market, which is about $10, $11 for a small. That's it. You want to go to 17, now you're fucking around with New York strips and salmon. I could get, they had the salmon at $14 a pound. They had the hamburger. They had chicken at $2.99, $3.99 a pound. So I got ribs. I got my little Asian ribs. I think they were $8.99, and I got like almost a pound of. It was like you get 4, Asian ribs with 3 or 4. They're kind of beef ribs, real good. So I can get that. I mean, there's options. You can't pretend you're in a market that you got the monopoly. You don't have a monopoly on pizza. You can't do it. Therefore, what the fuck are you doing with your pricing? Do you think we're stupid? See, I was making the point in front of other people going, it's too expensive. And I said it loud enough so the other people could hear me. I said, it's too expensive. And I walked out. Why you're paying $17 or $20, you're getting a large for $30. You're out of your fucking mind. Go buy New York strips. Go buy salmon. I mean, you don't need to buy a fucking pizza, which is all carbs which means it's all sugar. The bread is all sugar. It turns into sugar in your system. It's the worst thing you can possibly eat. And yet you're buying a large pizza and you're really being cheap. You're probably feeding your family for $30 for a large because you go, well, if I go to McDonald's, it's probably $30 to feed them. Or, well, this is why you have to go to the grocery store. So I got 3 pounds of hamburger for only, it was $6. It was like $6 a pound. It was like $5.99. So for $18, I got 3 pounds of hamburger, which will make roughly 12 hamburgers because it's 4. Let's call it 3 hamburgers a pound. So that's 9 hamburgers, which would easily feed a family, 2 meals, family of 4. Much cheaper. Get my salad and. And we're drinking water or green tea or something. We're not drinking Pepsi or whatever. So that's really the key is he needs a lesson in economics because he doesn't understand. They'll never be. And I said it loud enough that these people probably won't come back. They'll go, yeah, he's right. It is too expensive. Yeah, I could get a New York strip instead. And that's the key to free markets and economics and pricing and understanding your market and understanding competition and understanding substitution. So his competition directly is Little Caesars, which you can get a small for $6 with pepperoni. Okay. And I could probably add the mushrooms and the green peppers. Maybe it would cost me $9 or $10. But again, I'm getting it ready. So when I walk in for $6, you're getting a small pepperoni pizza ready to go. So I'm paying for the convenience and I'm paying, and then I'm eating my pizza and it's $6, $7. They get it. They're keeping their price at market, or they're creating the market and they know they have a market, and Jets is going over market. And this is the problem, right? They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand. They will be out of business soon. That's what Burger King and McDonald's and Wendy's are doing. They're, to get a burger and fries. Now I don't go there anymore, but let's say it's $10, I could go sit down. I could go to my barbecue place and get a half-pound hamburger with either the fries or the baked potato and coleslaw or a salad. And I think it maybe is $10. And it's a much better burger. It's a much, the fries are steak fries or potato, and then the coleslaw or the salad. I'm way ahead with that. So what are you doing, fellas? And that's kind of where I'm at with it. You've got to understand in your marketplace, which I'm sure almost no CEOs understand that. I don't think they understand their market. I don't think they understand what the price is. I don't think they understand the competition, or can I substitute? There's always a substitute, right? Honeydew is really expensive. You get a cantaloupe. Honeydew and cantaloupe are the same price. Maybe you get the honeydew. Or maybe you get a watermelon instead, or, it's a price game. I mean, you'll eat anything, right? The veggies, I'll eat, I'll eat whatever. Today I got a green leaf lettuce and mushrooms, right? And they were reasonably priced, but not terribly priced, so I bought them. Now they had. I walked in and it was like the little pint of blueberries for $4.99, and I laughed. I'm going, well, why is that on? That's what kind of sale is that? And their fruit was like $7, $8. This is a pricey grocery store. However, not the meat. Not the meat, and the salmon is pretty reasonably priced because they got competition with another grocery store down the road. So that's the problem, right? You've got to understand what the market's selling it for, and then if you're too expensive, you'll go to competition, and that's what's happening. So I am noticing prices up, which means the inflation is really cooking now. The tariffs that Trump's going to do probably ends the dollar. It probably cripples us. That video I showed you with 400 tons of gold going from London to the US, we've come up with three scenarios. One, London needed the money and they're selling, I don't know, they didn't supposedly have gold, so I don't know where this gold's coming from, but they could have sold the gold for the money because they need money. Two, the US is going to have a gold-backed currency and they need gold. Three, the US has to pay off their derivatives because it's people take the Chinese and the Russians take delivery at COMEX when you do your stupid derivatives. And so therefore they have to come up with the gold to pay them to take delivery. And the US is way behind in that. And so maybe they needed the gold to pay off COMEX. So it's one of those three reasons. I doubt it's gold standard. We're too stupid to have a gold standard. And if it's Soros's guys, the Treasury secondary, we don't stand a chance. I can't believe Trump took a Soros guy as his treasury. What the fuck is he thinking? We're in big fucking trouble, right? So it's buy as much gold as you can. Gold going up again, the central bank, again, it's just the dollar being worthless. They will not tariff gold and silver. You can't tariff money. It's only goods that are made. It's cars, it's lumber, it's things that are, more material goods than money. You can't tariff money. And so that's the big one of those three things. So I am noticing prices going up at some point. Now, when I go to my other store, Meijer's, which is like a Target, which is much cheaper, then I'm noticing the vegetables are pretty normal. They're up a little. Like my broccoli's $2.99 a bunch, where it used to be $1.59 a bunch, but it's not enough to really notice because it's $2.99. I have to have the broccoli and the cauliflower and the celery and the peppers and the onion and my avocados. I noticed my avocados are $2.50 now at Meijer's, but if I go to Walmart to get them, they're 99 cents. So yeah, I can go buy them at 99 and you're trying to sell them at 2.50. You don't in your market again. So more confusion of not knowing their market. Meijer's market is Walmart, not Bush's, and Bush's is selling them at $2.99 for an avocado. And I just shake my head going, oh, I'll go to Walmart. And it's not a big deal. They're both close to the gym where I work out. So I go there anyway. So my associate at work said, oh, my dad does that, but are you worried about the extra gas to go there? I go, I'm going to the pool anyway. It's just, which route do I want to take home from the pool? That I go right past either of these grocery stores. It's not a big deal. So understanding the market is understanding if I'm Canadian Club, which is Canadian, obviously, and I used to work there, how much can I sell this for? Now, this is not a normal, this is 12-year, which is now like 30-year. This much better tasting, much rarer. And so let's just say this is a regular bottle, not the 12-year. I can look in the marketplace and see what they're selling it for. And that's what I got to sell it for. If they're all selling it for, this is a 750 milliliter. If they're all selling them for $38, then I can't sell it for 60. Now I can maybe sell this one because it's specifically 12 years old, sort of like Black Label, Blue Label, Red Label. Those are a little more expensive for the Black Label, Johnny Walker, than the Blue Label or the red or the green or whatever it is. It's probably all the same shit. It's just they put a different label on it. That's marketing, boys. So the key is understanding your market and what are other people selling small pizzas for. And if you want to be that expensive, you will not last because there's no differentiation between your pizza and Little Caesars. It's bread and cheese. At the end of the day, it's carbs that's going to kill you anyway. So that's what I mean by it. You've got to understand your competition and what they're selling it for. And then what's the other choices? Chicken, $2.99 a pound. You can't compete with chicken. Hamburger, $5.99 a pound. You can't really compete with that. For what you're charging, $17, I got 3 pounds of hamburger for $18. Now I'm going to make 10 hamburgers and have, I'm going to make 5 and 5, but I'll have 4 meals of hamburgers with it. And what are you giving me? You're giving me 4 pieces of thick crust pizza or thick pizzas that is just more sugar. I probably shouldn't eat it, which is probably why I left also going, it's probably not too healthy for me. And it's not, now I could afford it. I got paid yesterday. It's not about the money. It's about when you start getting to my level, you think about substitution, what other goods. In other words, if I have $17, what should I spend it on? And that's really what you're looking at. What should I spend it on? And do I want to spend it on pizza or steak? And at the end of the day, I'd rather spend it on steak or burgers or ribs than pizza. The only reason you get pizza, it's fat, Little Caesars, it's waiting for you, and it's $6, $7. So it's cheap, convenient. I can go home and have 2-3 pieces, and it tastes good, and that's it. And then, okay, I had dinner. And that's the only reason you get pizza. But if you want me to wait 10, 15 minutes for Jet's pizza, that's twice as expensive. Taste is similar. That's what I'm saying. There's really, it's not a New York strip. It's not ribs. What the fuck are you doing? So you're too expensive. You're now running into other food that is much better than your carb, sugar-filled pizza. And that's what economics is. It's what's my marketplace, what's my competition, what's my substitute. Oh shit, yeah, they can buy New York strip for what I'm charging for a pizza. I'm probably in trouble. You probably should never go more than $10 on a small pizza. You should include a topping. You should make people want to come in and feel they're getting value. Now, as we've talked about free market and fair market before, free market, there's no tax. We just trade between amongst. So I can sell you the Mahomes card, you buy it. Free market. Fair market is, I want to sell it for $1,000, and you go, yeah, it's Mahomes, it's 50 count, and he'll probably win another Super Bowl. Yeah, it's worth it. It's a fair trade because I want $1,000 for the card. You want the card, which you feel is worth $1,000. We both that's what you want in a trade. You both are coming. You're both benefiting from the trade. I get the money so I can buy gold. You get the card because you're a Mahomes fan and you'd rather have the card than the money. That's what it is. That's a fair trade. So when I'm looking at the pizza for $17, it's not a fair trade. This is too expensive. There's other things I can buy with the $17 that kills your pizza. And that's the problem. They're getting into rarefied air that they don't want to be in. Keep it at $10 and you're competing with Burger King and McDonald's. You go to 17, now you're competing with steaks and lobster and salmon and things you don't want to be competing with because you can't compete. Or I could go get the barbecue, and if I just got barbecue chicken with the coleslaw salad or the baked potato, I'm $15 for that. You're 17 for crap. I'm getting chicken and a salad and a baked potato, pretty healthy meal. Well, potato is not great healthy, but okay. And so that's the difference. You've got uh, you start doing that. Big Boy's done that too. They're like $17 for a burger and a salad, and I'm going, I can go get my barbecue for $17. I can get Chinese for 20. Or if I get one egg roll, it's $18. You can't compete with General Chow where she fills the tray with chicken and broccoli and an egg roll. You can't compete with that for a burger and a salad at Big Boys. So you've got to be careful. When you start raising prices, you start entering territory you don't want to enter. And if you're shrewd like me, I have that computer upstairs going, well, wait a minute, I immediately go, what are my options and what can I substitute? And so that's what I'm looking at. So I start substituting one good for the other, and I'm content. Yeah, I can have a steak. I can have ribs instead of a pizza. And really, the pizza I shouldn't have because of the carbs, which is sugar. So I kind of understand that. But that's the problem with Keynesian, and that's the problem with government trying to run the economy as opposed to us running the economy. They can't tell what I'm going to do, right? Am I going to buy pizza? Am I going to get Chinese? Am I going to get barbecue? Am I going to go to the grocery store and buy a hamburger? Only I know, and even I don't know. My intention was to get a pizza. So how can the government know what we're going to do? That's why Keynesian economics doesn't work, because they're trying to control it with just like they're trying to control the gold price with the derivatives. They're saying, well, we'll do it here, and people keep buying it. Oh, wait, it's not high enough. People keep buying it. Nobody's going to sell it. Nobody's going to sell. So they're going to run out of gold. And then what do they do? Now it becomes secondary market, and we know what happens there. It explodes. You've run out of gold. You fucked it up. You've kept the price down, and all the other countries are buying it, and you're not even smart enough to keep the price down and buy the gold. So you get 400 tons in, maybe. Where is it? Did it just go to derivatives? Because you ain't backing the gold, the money with gold. And why would you do gold-backed T-bills? How does that? What would that do? So the T-bills are backed by gold, so you can sell them, but why not just sell the gold? Why don't you just mark the gold up to 10,000 an ounce like you should? Now, why did I bring up Keynesian and Austrian? The Austrians' free market, the Keynesians is communism. It's government run. Very simple. Now, I'm going to expose this Bill Halter guy because he doesn't understand. He brings it up because he listens to me. I'm very confirmed he listens to me. He won't give me credit, but he listens to me. There's no doubt, because I'll bring up Titanic. He brings it up. I start explaining Austrian economics. He starts bringing it up. He brought it up today for the first time with Mark McGuire. And let's start right here. It's about 2 minutes in, and he brings it up, but he can't explain it. Just like he couldn't explain Titanic. This is why I call this guy out, because he's phony. He doesn't know what he's talking about, and I prove it, and that's it. And if you're going to try to take my ideas, why don't you just ask me? And I could teach you what the hell you need to understand. You don't understand. And you don't look like an idiot because most people don't know, except for the professor knows you're fucked. So let's expose this cowboy guy. Um, I don't know. It was a decent show with Mark, but again, they don't talk about much, and it's not worth probably. I mean, maybe if you like this cowboy guy, but he's really just listen to me and you'll get 10 times more than he can tell you. All right. Mark McGuire today.
Really, when I say a lot of the mainstream analysts don't either get it or talk about it, but essentially, for example, Goldman in all through 2024 said, oh yeah, 3,000 gold. And then in January, he said, oh, well, actually, maybe we should push that out to 2026. And their rationale, this exposes everything. Their rationale was that, well, maybe higher bond yields, higher dollar, a lack of, maybe caused by a lack of rate cuts. But what they're missing is what every central bank out there, every brick central bank, everybody who's savvy into the wholesale markets knows that because the physical markets are being settled outside of this CME LBMA ring fence, and because they're physical and you have to own a bar before you can buy it, or you have to buy it, own it before you can sell it. So then basically what's happened is that we've seen gold rising into rising bond yields, into a rising dollar, and people don't get the fact that actually also and what's even and making it that even worse is that we've got pension funds in Switzerland saying, yeah, sell the U.S. Treasuries, swap some U.S. Treasuries for gold, first-year asset gold. We had UBS, the asset manager for UBS 3 or 4 weeks ago, controlling 1.3 trillion in reserves. Oh yes, we are actually selling U.S. Treasuries for gold. I mean, so when you've got all of this going on, it's obviously that accelerates the spike, the yield price to go up, because there's a lack of buyers and you've got people selling, and that people are not getting the fact that you can't discount gold's rise because the dollar is rising or your bond yields are rising. It's an interesting dynamic which a lot of people are confused about.
Right. It's what we've seen. Really what we've seen since October of 23. And I'm going back to October, November 23, because that's when the Biden administration sequestered the $300 billion of Russian reserves. So I think that's what changed the game, because typically when you see higher rates or a stronger dollar, you see weaker gold. That's been the past. You're not seeing that now, and I think the reason being is the world saw what the U.S. did with Russian reserves and is thinking to themselves, well, hey, wait a minute. If they can do it to Russia, they can certainly do it to us. So let's sell our treasuries that we hold as reserves and buy gold and hold the gold in hand, in a vault in their country. And let me just comment, I think the reason a lot of mainstream, not mainstream media, but mainstream financial people miss this whole thing is because they're Keynesians. They're not Austrian economists. Austrians, to simplify it, it's common sense. Austrians are like the perfect common sense, and Keynesians, it's like it's like the thought process is made up, if you will. And the thought process with the Keynesians is that the best asset on the planet is U.S. government debt. And when I say the best asset, that means gold is not there. Gold is, a lesser asset. When in fact, that's not the case, because the treasuries, the currency of treasuries can and is being diluted. the danger of not being paid back, an outright default is rising, although I don't think that'll happen because they can always print. But there is that danger. And on top of that, then there's the danger that the U.S. Treasury will decide, oh, well, we don't like what you're doing. Your money is now ours, like what they did with Russia. So I think the Keynesian thought process is flawed from the respect of they don't understand what's the true foundation to the financial world. It's gold. It's not treasury bonds. Although for the time being, it is treasury bonds. But there's going to be a comeuppance that the likes that the world collectively has never seen before.
Yeah, and we have our friends across the...
Okay, so he's about as far away from reality and explaining Austrians and Keynesians as he can get. Let's read it. So, Austrians, it's to simplify, it's common sense. Are we common sense? We're free market. We believe in the free market. We understand supply and demand. And I just went with the 20-minute explanation of Austrian economics with the pizza, with the substitute goods. We make the decisions, and we've got to have freedom to do that. It's got to be a free market. It's got to be strong money. The money has to be gold. That's Austrian economics. Austrian economics is simply what I always say. It's got to be a medium of exchange, has to be portable, scarce, divisible, fungible, which is the same, acceptance, and durable, which is gold. It's got to be accepted and durable, and it's got to be scarce. Well, the U.S. dollar is not scarce. Treasury bonds aren't scarce. That's what Austrian economics is. We want gold. We want free markets. We want low taxes. We want a gold standard, free trade. That's what Austrian economics is. Well, it's common sense. This is what he says. Austrians, it's common sense. Austrians are like the perfect common sense. He doesn't understand what Austrian economics are. I'm not sure if he's a Keynesian or he's just an idiot, but he doesn't. If you're going to come this way and you're going to come after us, at least know what the fuck we are. And you can't do that. He doesn't understand what Austrian economics is. Free market, strong money, gold, low taxes. It's all Adam Smith. It's about, I can substitute the good. I can, I got, whatchamacallit. I can, I can't think of my other word, but you can replace the good. What's the word I always use? Anyway, so I can substitute pizza for the ribs or the competition. Thank you. So you're competing with things. Is that, and you got to have gold. Is that common sense? That's not Austrian economics. It's not common sense. We have very strong beliefs in what should happen. Free taxes is not, low taxes is not common sense. Gold standard is not common sense. It's what it should be because you can't print gold. That's what it is. This is not common sense, although maybe it looks like it's common sense because we don't use graphs and all that, but it's very much free market. It's freedom of the individual and free markets. If I have to, in 5 words, explain Austrian economics, it's free markets, it's gold, it's free trade, it's let us determine it. It's a thought process. It is made up, if you will. Oh wait, no, that's the Keynesians. So the Keynesians is like, it's like a thought process is made up, if you will. What the fuck is that? And the thought process with the Keynesians is that the best asset on the planet is government debt. That's not what they say at all. They're not saying the government debt's the best. They're saying the government should set prices and should regulate, and there shouldn't be gold because well, I don't know if they're for or against gold, but they want to control the market, the government. That's the difference. That's Keynesians is basically communism. And Austrians are free market capitalists, right? The U.S. has been free market capitalist since 1776. We've been the strongest country in the world following Austrian economics. Then these guys come in, which always happens because there's too much money involved. Here come the mafia. Here come the rich guys to take over, and they don't like capitalism because everybody benefits from capitalism, right? You want to buy the pizza or you want to buy the hamburgers or steak. You benefit from doing that. So it's a very simple process. There's nowhere it says that the Keynesians think the best asset is government debt. And when I say that, that means gold is not there. That is nothing to do with Keynesian. Again, Keynesian is about the market controlling the government controlling the market versus the individual controlling. That's the major storyline in Keynesian versus economics. And you can see that you must have the individual control the free market because we are going to make decisions. The government has no idea we're making the decisions. All right. Gold is not the gold is, a lesser asset. What in fact, that's not the case because the treasuries can be and is being diluted in danger of not being paid. The treasuries or the US dollar in every instance that you've not backed it by gold has gone to zero. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. So again, when the government tries to control the market, it always goes bankrupt, and it's going bankrupt now. I don't think that, but the default is rising, although I don't think that'll happen because they can always print, which again shows me this guy's a Keynesian. But there is that danger, and on top of that there's the danger that the U.S. Treasury will decide, oh, well, we don't like what you're doing. Your money is now ours, like what they did with Russia. So I guess he's talking about other countries. And they can't just take it. That's why every country is going out. That's the only thing he said that was right, is we could sanction all these countries or we could take their money. So that's why they're all bailing on the dollar and going to gold, and the U.S. can't touch the gold. Not only that, the U.S. is so stupid, it's keeping the price of gold down so everybody can go into it. So anyway, we'll be getting the Super Bowl in a little bit. No, it's still a week away, so don't worry about it. So he's saying but you know that and outright default is rising, although I don't think that'll happen because they can always print. Again, he doesn't know what he's talking about. They can't always print. That's how you go to zero. That's how you need the wheelbarrows. They cannot just keep printing. This guy sounds like a Keynesian or MMT, which is Keynesian, where they think you can just keep printing the money. They don't understand the money loses value. That's why you go into gold, because you can't lose value in gold. So that's the big difference. So Keynesians are communists, socialists. They want the government to control things, and Austrians want the free market. They want the individual to control his own finances. And that's the biggest difference than Adam Smith, and it's all choices. So it's not common sense. It's just understanding the individual. Like I just said, well, maybe I want pizza. Oh, wait, it's too expensive. It's not a fair trade. That's Austrian economics. So in other words, what I want to spend for something has to be fair. I will spend so much. It's got to be a fair price for me to trade my dollars for steak or ribs or chicken or clothes or whatever I'm going to buy. That's the thing. Same thing with gas. If gas gets too expensive, we're going to need to figure out a way around it. Maybe we ride bicycles or something else. I think that's what, if the gas price would have really went up, then I think maybe the electric car could have had a chance. However, their prices is way over the market. Since there is no market for electric cars, you can't sell it. You don't know what price to sell it at. And, but there's no demand for electric. Why would, because there's no added value in it. We do things because there's added value. We buy gold because the value is, it's not, you can't inflate it or print it. It can't lose its value and it's going to go up. But adding value is like, you know, you had the horse and buggy and now you got a car that runs on gas and you don't have to keep feeding the horse, cleaning up its poop. And the car, you just go to the gas station and you're done with it. And then here comes an electric car. Well, there's no value added. Well, wait, now I got to go electric. I got to plug it in and charge it like I do my cell phone and my computer. And here I can just plug it into the outlet. I can't plug my car into and drive it in my living room and plug it in. And how much is that going to be? And so there's no advantage to getting an electric car. So why get one? And that's really the thing. Now I heard Europe, the gas prices are higher and the trips are shorter. So if you go to, you know, city A to city B, like Barcelona, and you go to, what's the other city in Spain? Madrid. Well, maybe it's an hour drive. Okay, I can drive the electric car and then I'll find charging stations in Madrid. Okay, that I can kind of do. All right, makes sense. But and then some like Austria and Switzerland. Switzerland's about a 4-hour drive from Vienna, Geneva, because we flew. It took us about an hour to go from Vienna to Zurich. I think it's Zurich. Yeah, Zurich. I've got the plate. So yes, we went to Zurich. There's Zurich right there on the bottom right here. Zurich. I love the plate. That's the Lake Geneva and then just very pretty. But that's the point. It's about an hour drive flight, so it's about a 4-hour drive. If you can go 75 miles an hour. So again, he's showing his lack of knowledge and he actually embarrasses himself, but nobody would catch it because nobody understands it. Except the professor. I understand it and I can call him out on it that he doesn't understand. So treasuries will decide, well, we don't like what you're doing. Your money is now ours, what they did with Russia. So I think the Keynesian thought process is flawed from the respect of they don't understand what's the true foundation to the financial world. It's gold. It's not treasury bonds, although for the time being, it is treasury bonds. No, it's never treasury bonds, but there's going to be a comeuppance, whatever that means. So, you know, here, so I think the Keynesian thought process is flawed, where this is not a Keynesian thing, what they did, right? The Treasury will decide, oh, well, we don't like what your money doing. What you're doing, your money is now ours, like they do with Russia. That is not Keynesian. That's just criminal activity, stealing the Russians' money. You wonder why there's a war. That is not Keynesian thought. Keynesian is strictly communism. It's government setting the market, setting the prices in the market, basically. And they want to print money, they want government spending for the economy. We want private spending for the economy. We're not worried about GDP. We're just worried about keep the money backed by gold, and then that's fine. It doesn't matter what GDP. That's it. That's a Keynesian thing also. So this guy's just clueless. Gold, he doesn't understand why gold, but you can't print it and it's limited. And we want sound money because we're Austrians. That's really the key. We have across the my phone, listen, telephone. So he's saying that every bank in BRICS sees gold under 3,000, they just buy it. They don't care the price. So we're at 2,800 now. Anyway, that's this guy, this cowboy guy. And, I'm trying to explain why I call him out. We've got housing market crashes, prices cut 121,000, sales collapse, housing market update. What the fuck happened? Something crazy is in the housing market's crashing. Will crash. The stock market will be next. A lot of it is people needing. People need money, and they're going to sell the way they explained it was the baby boomers are selling their house because they need money or they don't need a big house, so they're selling it and then moving into an apartment or a condo or an old folks home, or maybe moving to a different country where it's cheaper. They're not working, and so they're just selling their house, but nobody's buying it because they're too expensive. They're over market. They're doing what Jets Pizza is doing, trying to sell a $400,000 house for $600,000. Jets Pizza is trying to sell a small pizza for $17. Ain't gonna work. So you got to understand the market. Andy Scheckman had a pretty good one, I must say, which I was shocked.
Let me let you in on a little secret here. All of these American investors have it backward. If
shut
last
this
150.
All right. We'll get into it in a little bit. But Andy Scheckman he's actually like, I think he's listening to me more, where he's starting to understand what the fuck, instead of just rumbling and saying, yeah, the gold supply and the silver supply are down. I think he's actually now understanding. But this is the point of the Austrian Keynesian economics. You really have to, it's not just common sense. That shows me you don't understand it. I mean, I took 3 classes in a master's program for it. It is not more than understanding. I read you, my whole book's full of Austrian, gold is the ultimate inflation hedge. That's Austrian economics. You buy gold when there is inflation. And then I added a footnote today. There is always inflation if the paper money isn't backed by gold. So in other words, as soon as the money's not backed by gold, you buy gold because there will be inflation. It's already worthless when you start. So if they come out with CBDCs, you're fucked. So that's really what you have. It's the gold, because you can't print it, is the reason we want solid money. Because otherwise, we know what'll happen if you don't have solid money. You're fucked. You're going to have, the money is going to go to zero every time. And you can see the Romans and the British and the French, the Germans, and on and on and on. They keep printing. Sri Lanka now, and Argentina has massive inflation. Inflation is not prices. Inflation is devaluing the money, basically making the money lose its value because you printed too much of it. It's very, you eat chocolate cake every day, and guess what? You're going to gain weight. There's no way you're not going to gain weight. And if you keep printing the dollars, there's no way it's going to hold the same value it did, because you're printing the dollars. The dollars lost its value. And this is the point. I use Titanic because I'm explaining the only lifeboat you have is gold and silver. So let's get into a diversified portfolio. I heard one of these guys say, well, yeah, you still should own some stocks and bonds and real estate and gold. No, you shouldn't. The only way, because the goal right now is to get out of dollars. You want to get out of the stocks, the bonds, the banks, the real estate, trust, because it's all paper. You've got to get out of paper. That's the problem. It doesn't have a value. So if you're trying to get out of paper, my portfolio is going to be in real assets that aren't going to lose its value. I want to be in assets that'll keep its value. So I present gold, about 85%, silver, the other 10%, and then it's Rolex watches and Mickey Mantle cards as my other 5% of my portfolio. Everything's a real asset. Everything will go up as the dollar's going down. You buy Rolexes, huge demand, very limited. Mantle cards, huge demand, limited. Koufax, Bob Gibson, Pete Rose, Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, anything like that. And then you get the Brady and Mahomes and Montana and Jerry and things like that. Bobby Orr. So you get high demand and have very popular things. That's my portfolio. It's very diversified. And then I break the gold down into Philharmonics and Maple Leafs and US and Cougarans. So yes, that is diversification because the Maple Leafs and the Philharmonics are 24 karat gold. The US and the Cougaran are 22 karat gold. Now, it doesn't matter because it's not jewelry. We're buying an ounce of gold. It's still the reason I lose value. So right now this is worth 2,100 because it's 18 karat, and the spot price of gold is 2,800. I can get 2,100 for it. And the reason is because it's not 1 ounce of gold. It weighs 1 ounce, but it's only 75% gold, 25% the other. But in the coins, we're getting 1 ounce gold coin plus other things. That's why it's not 24 karat. And that's why it's meaningless in coins. As long as you're getting 1 ounce of gold in a maple leaf or an eagle, that's when 1 ounce of gold's worth $2,800. It's worth $2,800 because we do have 1 ounce of gold. It's got copper and nickel and silver in it, which are the other ingredients, which means, well, it's not 24 karat because of these other ingredients. But it is 1 ounce of gold. This is not 1 ounce of gold. Maybe it is, but they're calling it 18 karat. So they're saying it's 1 ounce in total and 75% of it is gold. So it's 3/4 of an ounce of gold is what they're trying to say. And that's the difference. So that's how you've got to get out of paper. This is why I keep saying it. And people will say, well, you got to diversify and be in stocks. And why? It's all going to crash because people will need money. As people are starting to realize what's happening, what do? You can't sell your house because nobody can afford them. What do? You know, I mean, if you're paying $17 for a freaking pizza, and you're not smart enough to just go to the grocery store and buy 3 pounds of hamburger, a steak, a salmon for the same $17. The New York strip was $13 a pound. So I could have bought 1 pound of New York strip. It would have been cheaper than the pizza. Or I could have bought 1 pound of salmon, which would have been about, I think, $13, $12 for a good salmon. That would have been cheaper than the pizza. So, but you can see where pizza used to be $8 or $9, they're now $17. You can see what's happening now. People, you wonder why people don't have money. Well, I got to pay $17 to feed my family. That was just so small. That was the small 4-piecer, the 4-end pieces from Jets. That's not a large pizza to feed a family of 4. God knows that would have been $40. Now you know why people go to Little Caesars, and that's their niche because they sell them fresh and ready for $6, and so I can buy 2 and feed my family for $16 because I only have so much money, and then I need the money to buy other things like rent and clothes and go to the dentist. Today, Daria, her daughter, has tonsillitis apparently. So I asked her, are they going to pull her tonsils? Because that's what they used to do. When I was a kid, if you had tonsillitis, they'd pull your tonsils. And she says, no, they just gave her antibiotics. Antibiotics are not good for you. It's like chemo. Chemo kills all your cells, right? And then you hope you're strong enough to rebuild them. And antibiotics basically kills the whole, it kills a lot of cells. It's not very good for you, the antibiotics. She'd be better off with Celtic salt and the cayenne pepper, but I doubt she has it, and I'm not going to, let her take the antibiotics and clear her tonsils. Not sure what happened to her. I've never had my tonsils pulled. I better not now, but I never had that. But again, you only have so much money. So now she said I needed to take a cab and go to the doctors and then go get the antibiotics for her. And now I don't think they pay much for medicine in Russia. It's socialist, so it's probably cheap. The cab would have cost. So she says, I'd really like a car so I could take her to school and go to work. And, if we have to get food and, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I says, I'm not buying you a car. That ain't going to, I don't know how much a car in Russia would be. But I said, I'm not going to do that, but try Ubering or something. I mean, people who don't have cars tend to Uber, but maybe they don't have Ubers in Russia, maybe because she says she takes cabs. Once in a while, her friend will drive her. But this is the instance, right? She's budgeting her money, and now here comes taking the daughter to the doctor and getting medicine, which is not in the budget. That's not in your normal budget. So we'll see. But hopefully she gets better. That's the most important thing. But again, you only have so much money. So if it was an expensive medical, I'll go sell 100 shares of stock. And I won't be buying it. So I need the money. So what do? I sell my asset stocks. I take my money out of the bank. I'll sell my bond. I'll sell my real estate trust. Like in Attack on Wall Street, the guy's wife gets sick and she needs these shots that are expensive. And he says, oh, I got 60 grand in my real estate trust. I'll cash some of that in to pay for it until he finds out it's worthless. And that's why he kills everybody. But that's the point that you see is he's doing that. That's what people do when they start running out of money because the idiots keep printing the money because, as you said, they're Keynesians. And they think they can just keep printing. And he missed that whole concept. You can't keep printing. It ruins the value. That's what inflation is. And that's the problem with Keynesians. They think they can just keep throwing money at it, printing money. And that's what he said. Well, they'll just keep printing money. No, they can't. The money has no value. You can't just keep printing money. And this is where I get upset at Mark McGuire. Why aren't you correcting him? Or do you not understand what inflation is? Do I got to teach all these guys who run these shows what inflation is? Jesus Christ, it's ridiculous. So you've got to be very careful there to understand that. But that's what ends up happening. As people, they keep living, got to feed their family. They start losing their jobs, and then they need money. And I start selling my assets. So on one hand, you're clever enough to get assets, to not leave your money in the bank, to buy real estate trust or to buy stocks because you're doing investment and you go to your financial planner who never told you to go into gold, by the way, because there's no commission. So you're in Amazon or Apple or whatever. Tesla's going to get killed. I think Apple is going down because nobody's going to afford the phone, as I said. And so these companies are all going to start. Nvidia is crashing because this Chinese company can come in and basically give it to you for free AI. And of course, they're getting all your information, which they already have from your phone and everything else anyway. So that's really what you have is you have this people selling their assets to survive. And that's really the problem, right? So again, you've got to understand that. So that's why everything's going to crash because they're going to lose their jobs because the economy will slow. Interest rates will have to go up because of the inflation. And because what I'm saying is if I loan somebody, if I loan Joe money and I give him 10 grand, well, the risk I got to take, I got to charge him an interest rate. So I make sure I actually make money on it. So if I give him 10 grand for a year, I want to get 11 grand back, right? I want to make money for my risk of loaning him the money, especially if I'm a bank. And then, but as the money's worthless, I got to charge him a higher interest rate because the money's losing value and my risk is going up that he'll be able to keep his job and pay me back. And I guarantee you most of these banks aren't smart enough to understand that. Anyway, so that's what you got to do. So we'll go to Andy Scheckman, but let's go to football now. And it's the same line. KC 1.5, 48.5, I believe. Hurts against Mahomes, not even close. It's all Mahomes. Barkley against Pacheco or Hunt, it's not even close. It's Barkley. Receivers, Kelsey against AJ Brown. It's edge to Kelsey because he's played with Mahomes more. Mahomes is the better quarterback. He finds ways to get open versus AJ Brown. He's Hurts. And, last week Hurts didn't throw a touchdown pass against the Rams. He struggled. The Ram game was 28-22. So he was struggling there. Last week they went off because Washington couldn't tackle. I mean, I don't know what that was. They really didn't tackle against the Lions, but the Lions choked. And that's the difference. And it's ironic because the Lions could have easily beat Washington if they would have done what Philly did, which is run the ball down their throat. And this is where the Lions will never win because they don't understand. They want to play their game. They don't want to art of war it. This is where I struggle with Campbell being a good coach. He doesn't understand art of war. He should have attacked the weak Washington defense with the running. Goff, there wouldn't have been 4 interceptions and a fumble by Goff because Goff would have handed the ball off and St. Thomas and the other running back would have scored 10 touchdowns because they were getting 10, 15 yards a carry. So again, instead of going against their weakness, he decides to stick throwing the ball, which Washington was much better at. And then with the turnovers, it gave Washington more possessions, and you have a defense that couldn't stop Daniels. This is your problem. So you needed to keep the ball away from Daniels, but with 5 turnovers, you gave him the ball 5 more times. That's how they got 45 points, right? You gave them gifts by letting Daniels have the ball more. So if you just run it down their throat and they couldn't stop you, you would have won. So when I think it's 10-7 Detroit and they're going down, they got the ball to 15 and Goff fumbles. Well, if you just keep running the ball, you're going to score a touchdown. Goff isn't going to fumble. Maybe St. Thomas fumbles, but maybe not. But Goff for sure fumbles. Then Goff throws an interception before halftime. The guy runs it back. Goff gets knocked down, which I was happy about that. And that's what you get. Goff throwing an interception. But wait a minute. If they're running, they ran Barkley, 52 times? That was their weak point, Washington. Philly got it. Detroit didn't. And this is the problem with Detroit. So everybody, it's funny, I was listening to radio today, and they're all like, they're still not over Detroit loss in the playoffs. And I'm like, I was happy that I knew they would lose. Like, what are you looking at? Again, we look at things very differently than most people. And it's Austrian economics. It's also knowing and smelling a dirty rat football team that is bullshit, that is not as good as they're saying. We know KC was going to be in the Super Bowl, and then it was either, well, let's see, it was Philly, Green Bay, Washington, Tampa, Minnie, LA, and then Detroit. So basically out of that lot, maybe Minnie, but Minnie got exposed. So you think, well, the Rams could have got there. Green Bay, Philly beat Green Bay, and then maybe Tampa, but Washington beat them. So you're saying, well, Washington doesn't have the defense. The Rams were playing well, but ran into Philly. So Philly was going to beat Detroit anyway. Detroit could not have beaten Philly, not with their defense against the Detroit defense. Detroit made a bad call. They drafted the guy from Michigan, Hutchinson, instead of the Georgia guy, who's the best defensive player in the league now. What is it? Carter or Taylor or Carter, Jalen Carter, I think, from Georgia, of course. But our great GM won't take anybody from Georgia. And now he's paying for it because he could have had that guy. He took Hutchinson instead of the Philadelphia Carter. And there's 4 or 5 other Georgia guys on Washington and Philadelphia's defense. So again, he would have been all over Goff. Goff wouldn't have been able to do anything. So this is going to make an interesting Super Bowl. But Mahomes beat the Rams with Aaron Donald on it a few years ago. I think they can handle it. But it's probably going to be a little more defensive game. I don't know if Barkley's going to be able to run all over KC. I doubt it. They'll blitz him. That's how you handle Barkley, is you blitz him. You don't let him pick. It's like, it's like a good run back. It's like Earl Campbell. You get him in the backfield. You don't let him run. And then, it's like these spies who spy Lamar. You can't spy Lamar. You blitz Lamar. You can't spy him because he'll fake your spies out. Your spies are meaningless in the play because they're just standing there and he's running. He puts a move on them and they never touch him. You cannot spy guys like Lamar. You blitz guys like Lamar and make them think, which they can't do, and that's it. So this is the point. So I think they will blitz and get Barkley. They can cover first of all, Devontae Smith is not good. A.J. Brown is. And so, again, they'll put their best corner, McDuffie, on A.J. Brown, their second best on Smith. Goddard, pretty good tight end, and then Barkley can't catch. So Barkley can run. So if you just blitz them 99 times out of 100, if you blitz them, you're either going to tackle Hurts because he can't read a blitz, or you're going to stop Barkley behind the line before he gets going. And I think KC does that. I think KC wins the game. I'm still mulling over a score. I don't know if it'll be high scoring. You're getting deceived. Philly beats Green Bay 22-10. But your thought is the Washington game where it was 55-23. And there's no way Philly's getting 55. Philly will probably be that 22-10 or 28-22 against the Rams. I think it'll be close like that. But they're good. Green Bay only got 10 with their offense, but Love's been hurt the whole year. Stafford 22 with Pukanuka. That's about right. And then Washington got 23 with Daniel. So I'm looking at KC being in the mid-20s, and then Philly will definitely be in the mid-20s. So I think you're looking at least a 24-20. You're looking 46-47, and the total's 48. So I think we go over. So I'm going to put that in. As good as Philly's defense is with Carter, I think that's it. Now, the key, since it's teaser world, we don't have to play a teaser. We could just go over, or we could just play KC and -1.5. Or if I'm taking Philly, then I'm going to tease them with the I'm going to take Philly in 7.5 and over 42.5. It almost could be a double teaser. I could take Philly in 7.5 and over 42.5, and KC plus 4.5 and over 42.5. Love the over in the game, but I think it'll be close, just like the KC Buffalo game. I see a very similar game. Season 18. KC gave up 14 to Houston, and they gave up 29 to Buffalo, which you would expect. So I think there's still an 18 defense. And I think Philly might be a 19 or 20 now. if you add in 23 by Washington and 22 by LA, but only 10 by Green Bay. So they're probably an 18-19, and KC's probably still an 18-19 because you got 17 weeks in there. So Mahomes wins it because it's what Mahomes does. Jalen Carter and my Georgia team will make some good stops. They have a great defense. They held Lamar to 19. They held Pitt down, and they held who was the other one? Washington. Well, Washington got 36 on them in 23. So they didn't really hold Washington down with Daniels. So I think Mahomes, obviously similar to Daniels. So I think in this type of game, Hurts will choke, and we know Mahomes doesn't choke. So I think at the end of the day, you've got Mahomes winning the game. The only way they don't win is if like Tampa Bay beat them, they blitzed the hell out of them, and they really didn't score much on Tampa, and Brady took over the game. So Brady had the number. He knew how to beat the KC defense, but he's the only one. The Niners have had him in the Super Bowl by 10 points twice, and their coach choked. Shanahan choked. He wants to keep throwing the ball. He doesn't get the concept of let's run the clock. And he had again, I talk about Mahomes controls the game, and Tom Brady controlled the game. What do I mean by that? Well, they understand everything. They're keeping the ball away from the other offense. They're going on long drives. They're just picking up first downs. They're not looking for a fast break type of game where there's 60 points. They're looking at, well, let's keep getting first downs, keep them off the field. We'll methodically drive down, and then we'll kick a field goal or a touchdown. When we need touchdowns, we can throw 20-yard passes, but we'll be content with 4 yards here and 6 yards there, and running the clock and keeping them on the bench and keeping us going and resting our defense, controlling the game. And that's what controlling the game is. You don't see that with anybody else. Maybe in this mess, Russell Wilson had done that at Seattle. Can't do that. Josh Allen does it a little bit. Hurts doesn't know what he's doing. Hurts, really, they're just running Barkley. It's not Hurts. It's a big difference there. And that was the same thing with Jared Goff. It was Todd Gurley running the ball, controlled the game for the Rams when they had Goff. Goff was not, he was the quarterback, but it's like Lamar. He's useless as a quarterback. So that's what Goff would do. He would control. It was all Gurley, and then he'd throw some play action pass off of it. But if you didn't have Gurley, they were useless. So that's where Goff is. So he needs a running game so he can play action pass. If he has to just drop back, or if they're down, well, you saw him against Washington. They got down, they got killed. He just throws it, and he just panics, throws interceptions. So Detroit's not winning anything with Goff. So they've got to come to that. And I'll make the same comment. Baltimore is not winning with Lamar. Houston's not winning with Stroud. Chicago's not winning with Caleb. Who is winning? Atlanta's going to win with Penix, and Washington's going to win with Daniels. And since he's going to win with Burrow, if they get a defense going and a running attack like a normal team, and that's what you have is that's who do you trust and who controls games. Burrow controls games. They all control. That's what you're looking for is the control. And yet Lamar never controls a game. He'll run around for 20 yards, and then he'll throw a 30-yard pass, and it'll be a touchdown, or he's going to throw interceptions. And the problem is he's not controlling the game. He doesn't get the concept. He's throwing. He'll hit Mark Andrews for 30 yards, or when Mark Andrews dropped the ball for the 2-point conversion to tie Buffalo, the ball was behind him. It wasn't where it didn't hit him in the chest where all he had to do was catch it. He threw a bad pass, but he doesn't control the game. Josh Allen does a little bit more, and that's really what you're looking for. And Mahomes is the master of that. Daniels is close to it, but Daniels needs some defense. But right now, Philly's controlling the game with their defense, Mahomes with their offense, and that's what we have. And then you throw in Barkley, it makes it Philly very tough to stop. And we know KC. I don't know. Philly can win this game, and it wouldn't surprise me. Which is what I told you with the Washington Detroit. I said Washington. It wouldn't surprise me if they did it because they had beat Philadelphia, which is a huge task to beat Philadelphia, and Washington did it, and going to Tampa. So it wasn't a surprise they beat Detroit. I thought the point spread was out of whack. I did bet Detroit -8 under a field goal, thinking it would be close, but Detroit would win it. But Detroit, very misleading. Really a kind of a fake team. They beat the bad teams, Jacksonville, Tennessee, by a lot, so you think they're better. It's like college. And then you get in against the good team, and then they just don't, like Ohio State, they get in against Michigan and they can't win. That's just insane. The coach should be fired. How they won the national title, it was just an easy draw, although they had to play Oregon, which was ridiculous, and Notre Dame was average. They didn't beat anybody, and Penn State didn't beat anybody. So it was a weird playoff where it was teams that had easy schedules that you didn't know if were any good, and the good teams. Georgia had a tough. They lost their quarterback, and Texas really was a fraud, even with Arch Manning. So Super Bowl in New Orleans, it's in a dome. Doesn't favor either team. They're both outdoor teams, by the way, as that's usually how it is. The indoor teams usually choke because if they got to play outdoors, they can't handle it. You would have had to, Philly wins at home. And so Washington, they were both outdoors, and KC, Buffalo were both outdoor teams. It strengthens them. They're used to the elements and playing in the snow, in the cold, in the rain, and it toughens them up. So I think this is a good game. I think this will be a close game. I think Philly in 7.5 and the over, probably the play. I'll sleep on that. I gotta feel it, and I'm close to feeling it. However, you get torn between, KC's going to probably win it, although Philly could win it, but Mahomes probably will win it. Now, I don't buy Taylor Swift, so they're going to win for Taylor Swift, and then he's going to propose to Hutchinson or whoever, and off they go. I don't buy that. They might propose, and he might go down on a knee. In the middle at the 50-yard line after the game, win or lose. I mean, that probably will happen, but the refs aren't cheating. The refs make terrible calls. I was watching the catch game today, Frisco and Dallas. Not once did I hear yard to gain. I didn't hear first down marker. It was like they got the first down. They didn't get the first. They're going to measure. It's close. I never heard the first down line, and I never heard the line to gain. I don't know why they're doing socialism on the line to gain. It makes no sense. It makes the game suck. There was no challenges. There looked like Tony Hill caught a touchdown. He was right on the end, right on the out of bounds line at the 1 yard line, and he catches it, but it looks like his left toe might have been out of bounds. The ref called it a touchdown, and that was it. And we moved on. You kept the flow of the game going. You didn't stop it to say, well, wait a minute. I know it's a touchdown, and I know it's exciting and everything, but let's take a replay. Let's take 20 replays to see if he got his foot down. I don't understand why you got to see 20 replays. Can't you just hey, we have a ref out there who's calling it. Isn't that the point of the ref? He called it a touchdown. It's a touchdown. This is not about showing up the refs or being legal bullshit. This is about the guy caught it. There was a catch. There was another throw to, I was watching the Niner game against Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. the one Joe Montana won at the end. And there was a pass to Chris Collinsworth, and he bobbled it, and the guy knocked it out of his hands. They called it a fumble and moved on. There was no replay, and there was, well, it wouldn't be a catch now because he didn't get 3 steps and this, that, and the other. He caught the ball, the guy knocked it out, and it was a fumble recovered by the Niners, and off you went. So all this bullshit today is ruining the game. It's like stopping a movie to explain the movie every time, or stopping me in mid sentence. Well, Keynesian economics is. I'll come back in 5 minutes. Well, I know I did that with the chicken. I apologize for that, but basically, I did continue where I left off. But that's basically what it is. So football is about controlling the game. It's about resting your defense. It's about having plays that work. It's the art of war. It's finding out where the weak point is on the defense. Is it a cornerback? Is it the defensive line? Who's the weak point? If we need a play, we go find the weak point and go get it. That's why Detroit could never have won, because they had too many weak points on defense and their quarterback. So they haven't fixed their weak points. They're too stupid to understand their quarterback's the weak point. This is the problem with the Lions. They will never win with Goff. He's never won. There's a reason that Shanahan or the other guy, McVay, got rid of him, because he knew they couldn't win with him. He brings Stafford in. He goes to the Super Bowl. He goes into the playoffs. He wins a game and goes. He beats Minnesota, and then he goes and plays Philly with Stafford. With Goff, he wouldn't have done. He wouldn't have beaten Minnesota. See, that's the thing. A good coach knows his strengths and weaknesses, and he knows Goff's a choke, and he sees it. He's never won a big game, and I'm not going to win with him. It's just like Baltimore with Lamar. I don't know what it's going to take for them to realize they will never win with Lamar. I don't pick on Lamar because I don't like Lamar. I pick on Lamar because he cost us money. If you bet Baltimore and he's losing you money because he chokes and he throws picks, that's the problem with Lamar. He doesn't control the game, and he doesn't win the big games. So how long is Baltimore? He's already in like his 7th, 8th year. And again, they haven't won any meaningful playoff games. They beat a bad Houston team, and they beat one other Tennessee team or something. As soon as they get against Buffalo or they get against Kansas City, it's all done. And how long do you want to lose with Lamar? I can't believe they signed him. I thought they'd get rid of him. They could have had Jalen Daniels. This is the point they didn't quite understand. They could have traded Lamar to Washington for the number 2 pick. Washington would have done that, and they could have drafted Lamar. Or they could have drafted Daniels. Or they could have drafted Penix. And this is the problem. They have Jacksonville's got Trevor Lawrence. He sucks. I see it. You can't see that he sucks. You're not winning with him. You never won with him. And therefore, instead of trading him and getting a Daniels or a Penix, you don't. And you go get a guard, and you get a defensive lineman or a linebacker, and you still only win 3 games this year. And that's the point. You've got to be able to analyze who's the better quarterback, Daniels or Trevor Lawrence or CJ Stroud or Lamar. Who's better? And it was very obvious Daniels was better. It's very obvious Penix is better. Penix should have played at least 8-9 games this year. What a mistake by that coach. And that's the problem, right? You don't even know your own talent. Detroit should be playing Hooker, who beat Alabama. I love when the radio guys laugh. Oh, Hooker, what has he done? He beat Alabama. What did Golf do? What has Golf done? Right? Who has he beaten? He didn't win in college. He didn't win with the Rams. He got to 1 Super Bowl. It was because of Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley gets hurt the next year. He doesn't show up. He's so bad that he gets benched, and they bring in, and then they trade for Stafford because they know he can't win. He comes to Detroit. He loses a meaningful game to Carolina, which would have put him in the playoffs 2 years ago. Last year, he chokes against the Niners with the 17-point lead. And he beat really nobody, just beat a bunch of bad teams. And then this year, he beats up on some bad teams, but as soon as it becomes critical, he loses to Buffalo, lost to Tampa early. He beats Minnesota, who's a bad team. With if you blitz Darnold, how nobody saw that, I don't know. And then in the playoff game against a weak defensive Washington team, he throws 3 interceptions, a fumble, and there's a 4th interception. You're turning the ball over in the most important game. This is the problem. So you've got to realize he sucks. So this year, there's really no quarterback. Prime Jr., I don't like. And, I like the kid out of Texas State. Can't remember his name. Cam Ward is not the answer. Cam Ward to me is like he's not a Daniels type, and he's certainly not a Penix. Or Nix. Those are accurate passers. He's not accurate. At Washington State, he was terrible. He goes to Miami. Okay, maybe he's a little different, more running, better receivers, whatever. But he's not your answer. Who's he like? He's probably like Jalen Hurts. He's gonna run the ball and then he can throw it. No, he's like Kyler Murray. He's kind of quick, so he can run and he can throw. He's not that accurate, but he's not. He's going to beat Kyler Murray. He's going to win 5 games a year. So that's the problem with Cam Ward and Prime Jr. And there really isn't too much. They all have very low. It was only a few quarterbacks that threw 30 touchdown passes this year. And then you had like LSU's new quarterback, and Georgia's quarterback got hurt back. Ohio State, Howard could be okay. He's not a superstar. So you really don't have the quarterback coming out. I think you have running backs. Gentry comes out. The kid, the Scadaboo from Arizona State's and very strong. The kid from Iowa is a very strong running back. So I think you have more running backs, and then you got all these defensive ends from Ole Miss and Tennessee that are fucking all pros. That's who you should get. And I love reading these mock drafts where all these guys taking offensive linemen. How has that worked out for these teams? Tennessee, offensive lineman. Yeah. Oh, they won 2 games. All these teams that take the offensive linemen are just idiots. San Diego took the offensive lineman instead of Brock Bowers. How did that work out? Oh, yeah, you lost to Houston 32-12 with your offensive lineman where you could have used Brock Bowers in the game. See, you get a Brock Bowers, you can get another offensive lineman later in the game. It doesn't fucking matter. You could draft one in the 3rd round, in the 4th round, somebody from Michigan, Ohio State. As I say, Notre Dame, you can, if they're starters, and there's going to be plenty of linemen, they're going to all be the same. There's really no much of a skill set that's the difference. You're blocking somebody. Okay, maybe you have better footwork or something. All right, maybe you can teach it, maybe you can't. But you can't get another Brock Bowers, and that's my point. So I always laugh at these guys taking offensive linemen in the 1st round. You got to be out of your fucking mind. Not going to have. It's just, and those are the teams draft. Like again, the Bears are drafting like 6th or 7th. They've had the number 1 pick 2 years in a row now, and Carolina has had. They get Steve Young, and then they get whoever this year, and now they're back drafting like 3rd or 4th again because they don't know what they're doing, and they have terrible drafts. They'll probably draft an offensive lineman this year, and they'll be number 1 again next year drafting. The Giants again, Daniel Jones, and they get sold on him. They can't realize he sucks. Signed him to this big contract. Didn't draft Penix or Bo Nix. And then, oh, yeah, Daniel Jones does suck. And then they just release him for nothing. but you owe the guy $30 million a year, or whatever you owe him. You're like, what is going on here? But these guys can't understand that, and they don't know what they're doing. And you just, as Bobby would say, you just shake your head. You're just like, why do you keep drafting offensive linemen? It doesn't help the team at all. You're better off with a Jalen Carter or a Hutchinson or Aaron Donald. Those will make impacts. If you find one of those, be my guest taking him in the first round, but not an offensive lineman. Name one offensive lineman that's ever done anything. All I can do is remember the one when Barry Sanders was drafted third, I think. I think it was Troy Aikman one, and then the lineman from Michigan State who never played was two, and then Barry was three. And you're like, you could have had Barry Sanders and you took a offensive lineman. You just can't believe how stupid these GMs are. If you spot a guy like that, you've got to draft him. And you've got to be smart enough to realize who your players are, and is this guy better or worse than your player? It was very easy to see, and you can look at my videos from the draft, that Daniels and Penix were much better than Daniel Jones and C.J. Stroud and Lamar and all these guys. It was a very simple, easy thing to realize, and yet they're still playing the same game. We got C.J. Stroud. He sucks. He's not very good. You got lucky last year because nobody knew him. This year, terrible team. They apparently have a good defense, so if only they had a good quarterback. Oh, so if Houston would have drafted Daniels or somebody else, they'd be going into the playoffs. And again, like the Giants, they could have had Daniels. And they could have traded for Daniels, or they could have had Penix, let's say. That they could have. They could have had Penix. No, they got Daniel Jones. They can't read that their guy's shit. This is the part I don't get, that you can't see your guy's terrible. And that's why these teams are so bad. And that's why KC's in the Super Bowl every year. It's not Andy Reid, it's Mahomes. Mahomes controls the games. That's why KC wins the Super Bowl or gets there. They did lose to Tampa with Brady. Brady could out-control him. He beat him in that New England, the first championship game that he lost, and then he beats him in the Super Bowl. And he's the only one that can beat Mahomes and Joe Burrow, who can also control a game. And that's really what you're looking at. So that's why Mahomes keeps going. The only competition he's really got is Joe Burrow, who didn't make it this year. Now he's got Daniels and Penix, so this would be – but they're both in the NFC, so he might play him. Hurts is not in his league. Jalen Carter could be a neutralizer, and Barkley could be the neutralizer. So, you got good talent there. But it's all Mahomes. It's not Andy Reid. Andy Reid sucked at Philadelphia. He had Donovan McNabb. He couldn't win. I remember he went to the championship game, the NFC championship game, 5 times before he finally got to the Super Bowl, where he lost to Tom Brady. So that's the thing. It's just when he had Alex Smith, they didn't do anything. And finally they get Mahomes, and it's Mahomes winning these games, not Andy Reid. Anyway, that's what you have. You want games that are being they take over and control the game. The good quarterback does it. Bart Starr did it. Green Bay was a master of it. The Steelers in the 70s were masters of running Franco. Okay, they got 11 guys at the line. I'll throw to Swan and Stallworth. Well, Bradshaw didn't do shit. It was Franco Harris who opened up the game. And then we let our defense kill you with Green and Ham and Lambert and Mel Blount and Mike Wagner. I thought Mike Wagner was the most underrated player on that team. He made more big plays, more interceptions, better tackles. He was just as good as Mel Blount. And, it's hard because you had Ham, Lambert, and Green and Greenwood. But he was an outstanding safety. And when he retired, when that was kind of it. Green and Wagner retired, I think, after the 80s went over the Rams, and they were never the same. They still had Swan and Stallworth and Franco, but then they couldn't replace Bradshaw, who hurt his elbow, I think. But that's you could control the game with Joe Green. You could control the game with Franco Harris. You had controlling pieces. Then you went to Frisco you controlled the game with Montana, and then Ronnie Lott, Hacksaw Reynolds. The Bears controlled the game with their defense. McMahon, Walter Payton. You had controllers. Lawrence Taylor controlled it. Phil Simms is a joke. Man, that guy is an embarrassment. He's terrible. Hostetler won the one against Buffalo. It was a great game. But Lawrence Taylor basically controlled the game. You need the controller. You went into Emmitt Smith. Aikman sucked. Emmitt, and then you had a killer defense, and you had Jimmy Johnson. And then you went to New England. Brady controlled the game. You need the controller. Mahomes is the controller. Jalen Hurts is not the controller. Barkley's the controller, and Jalen Carter's the controller. So they have two controllers. KC's got Neil Smith or whatever the fuck the guy's name is, but it's Mahomes is the master controller, and that's why they keep winning. And it took Tom Brady to beat Mahomes. He beat him with New England, and he beat him with Tampa. But he was the only one who was a better controller. Daniels is a controller, but he needs defense. They need the Jalen Carter. Detroit doesn't have a controller, and that's about as simple as I can make it. Just like gold, you can't print it. You need the controller in football, or really in any sport. When we look at baseball, it's Verlander's the controller, and Scherzer's the controller. It's never Mike Trout or Suzuki or whatever that guy's name is. They're not the controller of the team. It's the pitcher, and that's what's hard about it. But Jordan was the controller. Magic, Bird, Isaiah, those were the controllers. They ran the game and played at your tempo and your pace and kept the ball away from the other team. And Larry Bird was great at it. So was Isaiah. Magic controlled the tempo of the game and give the ball to Kareem, give the ball to Worthy. I'll take a shot. So it's like that in any sport or any country. It's controlled by the president. If you got a dictator like Venezuela, like you had in Argentina, Brazil, you had in Russia, but I don't think Putin is a controller or is a communist. I think he's free market, but I'm not sure. And then you have, you can see the problems. Chinese is controlled by communists, so it's not a good controller. You have a bad controller. Gold controls the world because you can't print it. And this is not the controller. This is the problem. This is Jared Goff. This is the choke, right? You're going to print it because it's easy to do it. I don't know if they don't realize that it won't lose value or not. Again, this Bill Haller didn't realize, they can just keep printing money. No, they can't. That's the problem. If you keep printing it, it loses value. That's why you go to gold, because you can't print it. It comes out of the ground, not out of a printing press. Or digital. You can't make digital gold. And you can't make any, digital Bitcoin gold would never happen. You actually, because that's basically what you have with COMEX is paper or digital gold. That isn't real, and that's why the price is that's why everybody buys physical, because you can digital stuff doesn't work. You need physical. And just like the Mahomes card, I would never want a digital one of these. I want the real one. And that's the difference. Gold's real, Bitcoin isn't. And I think that's the big difference. So it works in everything. If it's a country, if it's economics, if it's football, there's the controller. And if it's a good controller, they win. And if it's a bad controller, everybody gets fucked. Here, everybody's about to get fucked because we have stupid idiot controllers. We had Biden, we had whoever the Treasury, Janet Yellen, and now we got some Soros idiot as our Treasury guy. That can't be good. No. That can't be good that you brought a Soros guy in. Are you out of your fucking mind bringing a Soros guy in? And we saw Biden give Soros a medal for a high honor. Oh, so we do know that Soros was running Biden, which is what I told you all the time. Soros is trying to run America because he's a Nazi and he wants revenge for the Nazis losing. It's as simple as that. So that's the key to look at is who's controlling what, and are they good or bad? And if they're bad, and I'm telling you the good and the bad, right? I'm telling you gold's a good controller. You'll be fine with gold. You will never get fucked. You will never lose your money. We saw what happened in 2008. They just lost $1 trillion in the stock market last week with this AI by China, which is just gathering data, which is no different than Facebook. And so you have that, and then you have all the paper being printed. So everything in paper is gonna, the controllers are bad. You're gonna get hurt. That's why you're in gold. Or I give you Bitcoin, or I give you Mantle, or I give you Rolex. I meant to say Rolex. Those are good controllers to have. They can't be printed. Nothing. You get a PSA 9 Mantle, it's a PSA 9 Mantle, or Brady, or Montana rookie. You get a Montana rookie, it's worth $100,000, or Rice rookie. You're not gonna lose. That's a good controller. It can't be printed and it can't get inflated. And there's only so many tens because it was always hard to get it centered. So you have that, and then you have obviously gold and silver. But this is a bad controller. This, or its partner in Europe, the euro is not a good controller because it's not backed by anything. It's just paper, and they keep printing it, and it affects it. It loses value, and that's why in gold or Mantle or Rolex they don't lose value because they can't be printed. And what causes you to lose value is they print. It's got to be scarce to keep the value, and if they overprint it, then it's not scarce, then it loses its value. So how this holder doesn't understand that, how do you listen to him? I guess that's my problem. When I hear Holder not understand that he thinks they can just keep printing, or he doesn't understand Austrian economics from Keynesian. How do you listen to the guy? So I know some of you guys like Bill Holder, and I go, but he's an idiot. He doesn't get the fundamental of Austrian economics. Then what's he talking about? He thinks you can keep printing the dollar. The guy's an idiot. He's not somebody you want to listen to. I couldn't believe he talked Keynesian and Austrian. I guarantee you he's listening to me, but he still doesn't get it. He doesn't have the balls to come on and comment or email me or something. Hey, I want to understand. He doesn't have the balls to do that. And this is the problem with a lot of these guys. They're all talk. They're sales guys. Peter Schiff, I'd bury. Reichert, I'd bury. Alistair McLeod, I'd bury. Mark McGuire, I'd bury. And me and Egon would be a draw because he seems to understand Austrian economics. He seems to understand that you print the dollar, it loses its value. Gold doesn't. So gold is wealth preservation and also wealth enhancement. And I basically just say, well, you're going to make money in gold. I don't wealth preservation. What is that? Basically, buy gold. It's going to go up in value because it's very limited and highly demanded. And that's it. That's all you need to understand. You can't print it. All right. There's some Andy Schechtman that actually made sense. That shocked the hell out of me. So, well, it's 17 minutes. I don't want to play 17. It gets too boring. So we'll listen to the first 5 or 6 minutes. But he actually made sense, and I was shocked. So maybe he's listening to me too. All right, let's see what's going on. If you got questions or comments, please ask. If you want to talk more football, I pretty much covered it. Like I said, I think it'll be definitely over 42, and I think it should be a close game. But I'll give a score later on, maybe this weekend. All right, Andy Schechtman.
Days,
Shanghai Gold Exchange cumulative volume between it and the Shanghai Metals Exchange and the Futures Exchange has increased over 200%, and that volume is now greater than the COMEX. It's now the second most traded exchange on the planet. It's beginning to have severe significance. But he said in 2015, when China is allowed to speak at the table, the real price of gold will be observed. And the BRICS countries just built something called the BRICS Grain Exchange. And the guy that's running it, he said, we produce more of the wheat and the soft commodities than the West does, and we consume more of it, yet we don't have any ability to affect its price. That's all done on COMEX, but with the establishment of this new grain exchange, that will change. They know what we're doing with metals, and they're using it against us. That's exactly right. The reason they're not bitching yet is because they're using the brain-dead Western suppression to drain the exchanges. That's exactly what they're doing. And then when there's no more companies or entities willing to sell at these prices,
this AI trade finder will handpick you options trades every morning on autopilot. Hi,
by the prices, I believe that the legitimate price setting will move eastward to places like Shanghai, to places like Dubai and even Moscow, where these are the countries that appreciate, accumulate, stockpile, and understand metals better than the West does. We are now in Bretton Woods 3. Bretton Woods 1 when the dollar was backed by gold after World War II until 1971 when Nixon closed the gold window. Bretton Woods 2 when the dollar was tied to specifically and exclusively to oil purchases and oil sales through OPEC, which just ended about a month and a half ago when Saudi Arabia didn't cancel it but said we're not going to be exclusive to the dollars. We're going to take other currencies too. Or Bretton Woods 3 is all about commodities. But why? Think about it from a historical perspective. We're a country that is broke. We have a mountain of debt, 35 trillion seconds ago was 31,688 years ago. And when you think how big a trillion is, 31,688 years ago is a trillion seconds. We're at 35 trillion in debt. Our unfunded liabilities, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, government military pensions are approaching 200 trillion. We'll never pay it back, ever. 77 trillion in Social Security, 99 trillion in Medicare Part B, 22 trillion in Medicare Part D. Just those three alone are 180 trillion in unfunded liabilities. You look at the U.S. government's balance sheet. Google, what is the asset base or what are the largest assets of the U.S. government? It's $5 trillion. The largest asset of the U.S. government is student debt of $1.6 trillion. That's it. Now, the country has more money, but the U.S. government has $5 trillion in assets with up to $200 trillion in liabilities. We're broke. We're insolvent. We are viewed by most of the world as being wholly hypocritical. And we can say to Janet Yellen can say to CNN, we're okay with Xi and Putin being friends in BRICS. Thank you, Madam Secretary. That's great. But if Xi gives one penny to Putin or his war machine, we will sanction China's banks, their companies, and Beijing itself. Never mind the over 160 trillion or 260 billion, rather, that we've given to the Ukraine, much in the way of weapons, the Stinger missiles, the F-16 jets, the intelligence on where to shoot it, training Ukrainian pilots in the Arizona desert, all of this stuff, that doesn't matter because we're the world reserve currency. And then what did they do? Then they confiscated, which is the same thing as stealing, which is the same thing as defaulting on $5 trillion in Russian treasuries here in the U.S., and use them to give, mostly in the form of weapons, think silver again, military-industrial complex, to the Ukraine, the country they're in a war against. So as the world reserve currency, it is not our prerogative to go around the world sanctioning everyone, where the West right now is sanctioning 60% of all the underdeveloped countries. We went to Iraq 21 years ago, under the guise of weapons of mass destruction. We're sorry we didn't find them. We destroyed your country, toppled your regime, and guess what? We're still here, sanctioning 14 of your banks for trying to buy liquid natural gas funneled through Iranian banks. And they made $90 billion in oil revenue last year. That's all held at the New York Fed. They can't even control their own natural resource revenue 20 years after supposedly installing a new regime and doing it the right way, looking for those weapons of mass destruction, saving the world. We didn't find any of it. And here we are. They asked us for $1 billion at the end of 23. We said, no, sorry, we're busy. It's your money. Come back. We'll give it to you next year. So what have they done? They've made trading in dollars illegal. If you do so and own a business, you'll end up in jail. They've gotten rid of all green bills as of January 1. There are none in Iraq, none in any bank. They've officially applied to BRICS, and they're kicking Western coalition forces out of the country. They look at us as being wholly hypocritical. So we can go around the world imposing sanctions using our treasuries as weapon. No, these are ours now because we don't like the way you play. Doesn't matter how we play. We're the world reserve currency. Our you-know-what doesn't stink, but we can tell you what to do. So the rest of the world says, well, let's see. Gold has doubled the performance of the 10-year treasury, doubled it for 25 years with no counterparty risk. And so what they are slowly doing on top of selling dollars and repositioning, which is called de-dollarizing, this isn't a word, but you'll get my point. They are de-treasurizing also. They are slowly, instead of dumping treasuries, which causes too much attention, they used to roll them over. Every time they would expire, they would just roll it over and buy a new one, finance our exorbitant lifestyle, finance our debt-binging society. Now they're not. Instead of them not rolling them over, they're buying commodities like Zoltan Pozar says, he or she who has the commodities in Bretton Woods 3 wins. They're buying gold because it's doubled its performance. It has no counterparty liability. It can't be stolen. And if we look at the new BRICS ecosystem, the unit settlement token, which has been agreed upon in principle, according to the head of the BRICS New Development Bank, Dilma Rousseff, who was the former president of Brazil, you end up with a new system that needs gold. And if they enact a system where all of a sudden it is a common settlement currency backed by gold and a basket of BRICS plus currencies, the need to hold dollars, gone. The need to hold treasuries, gone.
Now notice how he still doesn't get you can't print gold. Right? He says it's gold and no counterparty risk, but everybody misses the most key fundamental. You can't print it, so you can't inflate it. It will hold its value. That's why it holds its value. It's not nature's money. It's got nothing to do with counterparty risk. It's you can't print it anymore. So if you could print more, even though there's no counterparty risk, you'd still be fucked. But because you can't print it, that's why you hold gold. And that's what BRICS will do. They'll go, I don't know how much they need to back it by 40, 50, 60%. We'll back but nobody wants Argentine dollars. Nobody wants Indian dollars or China dollars. Or Russian dollars. They're all worth nothing. And so you have to have gold. If you're going to trade, you're going to want gold for gold. Just like me, I'm not going to trade gold for dollars. The only way I'm selling my gold is if I buy a house or a car or something. I buy a Rolex or a mantle. I'm not going to get into fiat money with my gold. I'm going to just stay in gold. So that's the thing. When are you going to sell it? I'm not going to sell it. I'm not planning on selling it unless I absolutely have to. That's the key. Most people are going to sell their stocks and their money in the bank's going to be deleted to zero. That's why most people are going to get screwed, because they're not understanding that they need to buy gold because it can't be inflated and you can't lose on it. But that they totally miss that. So Andy Schechtman's still missing that gold can't be printed. Therefore, it can't be inflated. And again, they don't really understand inflation. They think it's prices. This is another thing that is a pet peeve of mine with guys like this, who they come across as a gold guy, but they're not. They don't know it can't be inflated. It's mind-boggling. All right, a few more minutes.
And like that, the whole thing snaps. Now, you could argue, people give me a hard time because I say little by little by little, then all at once. This logarithmic decay, I always say, but this is what's happening. Little by little, the world is de-dollarizing and selling treasuries, not too fast to cut off their nose, despite their face. Little by little, they're draining the exchanges of all of the world's commodities, not just gold and silver. China just bought the London Metals Exchange. That's the biggest exchange in the world, base metals. They're going all around the world in their Belt Road and striking deals in BRICS with all these other developed countries that are resource rich, and they're doing it cooperatively instead of coercively. Even the name of their Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which is the largest regional military organization in the world, which Iran and Saudi Arabia just joined. All of these things are little by little chipping away at the dollar hegemony, which is gone. It's the supremacy that's not gone yet, but that's next. Right. And when these countries, if indeed all of the oil-producing countries agreed to the new BRICS settlement currency called a unit, it will change the landscape of this country forever. And when you bring it all the way back home, the craziest part about it all is that our lead economic advisor to the United States government right now Many of you probably saw his stupidity trying to explain bond sales and money creation and on Twitter a few months ago. The guy couldn't even speak. This is a guy who has a degree in music and a master's degree in social work. A master's degree in...
The problem is it says 5 days ago, but clearly it's a couple months ago because that guy's no longer there. Now it's this Soros guy. So again, he's still an idiot. So we haven't really benefited by that. We've got a corrupt communist as our treasurer, which isn't going to help. This is where it's mind-boggling. Trump. If you hear Trump, I can't listen to him anymore. He keeps saying, "Well, I'm the best president that we've ever had. It's really the fastest we've ever done, and it's the most money, and the tariffs will work, and it'll benefit, and you won't have to pay taxes." And everything that comes out of his mouth is bullshit. And then he's like saying, "Well, we'll be the Bitcoin." No, we're not. Bitcoin's not real. What are you going to do with it? And it's not even government run. So everybody with Bitcoin, Fink and Saylor knows they're not giving you their Bitcoin. So what are you going to do with it? You can't afford it at 100,000 a crack. So what are you doing with, we're going to be the Bitcoin capital of the world? What does that even mean? And it's not government run, so it's not going to help you. Saylor buys more Bitcoin than you're going to do it. But at the end of the day, it's not worth anything. It's not real. All right.
Social work. He's an inclusionary economist, a modern monetary theorist knucklehead who says we shouldn't have the world reserve currency. He has written a report called Dethrone King Dollar where he advocates for this. So if you think about it, what better way to lose the reserve currency than to weaponize the dollar, to tell Saudi Arabia, hey, we're going green, thanks anyway. It's been great run. We're going green. We're not going to really need fossil fuels anymore.
There is no excuse why you cannot succeed as a real estate agent anymore. Gone are the days of cold
fuels anymore. And then let the country go to all of the things that made this country great. All of a sudden, people are like, is this bizarro world we're living in? Or is it too stupid to be stupid? Could all of this be planned so that the world dumps dollars and that we reset the system? And instead of blaming the Fed and the fiscal irresponsibility of the Treasury Department for destroying the American dream, we can blame Xi Jinping, Putin, and OPEC for dumping the dollar. After all, we incentivize the hell out of them to do it. But the public, well, they don't know that. The media doesn't report any of this. You got to dig and read every day like I do, even to come close to finding this stuff out. And if you don't, you'll just think that we are victims to this awful thing that destroyed the reserve currency. The whole thing resets as every country in the world who's had to stockpile dollars and treasuries has no need to do that anymore, dumps them. And this is why I've been saying for the last 2 years that you will see the Western system, the COMEX and the LBMA, exposed for what it is. It is a scam, if you will, where the futures market is controlling the price of the underlying commodity, and it's not right. So let me just read this to you because it's very telling. He says, the second part of this new currency is price. For the moment, price is determined by Western speculation. Very true. We produce these commodities, we consume them, but we do not have our own price mechanism, which will balance supply and demand. Now, during the COVID pandemic, the price for oil fell to nearly zero. Now, he's wrong there. It fell to negative $40 a barrel. Kind of, I guess that encapsulates my point, where an exchange can push oil down to negative 40 a barrel. That's not right. Anyways, he says, it's impossible to make any strategic planning for economic development if you do not control prices of basic commodities. Price formation with this new currency should get rid of the Western exchanges of commodities. Because James Rickards came out and publicly said that they're going to issue a common settlement currency.
So that's what Russia and China and BRICS are doing. They're going to set the physical price of gold and silver, and the supply and demand is me selling them a homes and Bobby buying it. That's free market, not the government saying, well, we're going to make this card worth $100. No. It's up to the market to what Bobby's willing to pay. And then he goes and sells it, and Joey pays Bobby $2,000. That's how the market. How do you think Montana went up to $100,000? Because it's free market. If the government controlled it, it'd be $1,000 or something. So this is the key to it, is understanding what's really going on. So Andy Scheckman was a little bit more intelligent this time. I don't like when he brings Jim Reichert's in. He's an MMT guy. I don't like when they bring in these MMT guys. We know it's stupid. We don't need to bring it in. That Bill Holter guy on Mark McGuire, just probably the dumbest comment I've ever seen. Just shut the fuck up. We don't know if you're Austrian or Keynesian. We think you're Keynesian because you don't understand what inflation is and you don't know what gold is. But then when you start explaining Austrian and Keynesian, now we really know you're an idiot. And that's kind of where it's at. So that's the problem. So I don't know. Was there any other videos that we wanted to look at? I like watching these flash mobs. So all of a sudden you're at a market or something, and this whole orchestra comes out and starts playing Les Miserables or one of these other ones, and it seems pretty cool. So here is the UK is going to collapse. I started watching that. West headed down road of the Roman Empire as the debt's getting there. Well, we already know it's the Roman Empire. It's hard to watch that. We already talk about it. The sales collapsing. The housing market's collapsing. I wanted to watch this for Daria's daughter with the tonsillitis. So it's an inflammation of the tonsils. And I don't know what that is. I was watching it, but she always says the same thing. Celtic salt and cayenne pepper and castor oil. You don't drink castor oil. You put it. So I was going to have her put castor oil on her throat where the tonsil is. That might help her. But I couldn't. I thought she had one on inflammation. But I'll tell you, if you ever have issues like these, the problem is they're all like 20 minutes and she doesn't get to the point for 10. And then she starts, so she explains it, which is nice, but just get to the point and then you can explain it. Like I do when I start talking about gold, I get to the point. Or my example today with the pizza. So keep that in mind. It's much more prudent to go to the grocery store and buy and cook it. Is much, excuse me, it's a much better, more cost-effective way to feed your family than getting a $30 pizza from Jets or, even just eating out, going to McDonald's or it's terrible food, Wendy's. All this carbs and stuff. Be careful, like Subway. I'll never go to Subway. If I go to Wendy's, I basically just take the bun off, but I haven't been there. All the processed food's killing you. So it really only behooves you to go to the grocery store and you buy a bunch of veggies and a bunch of fruit. And then you have your protein, your eggs, your chicken, your burgers, your steaks, and make a salad for dinner and with the steak and that be content and that's it. And watch your sugars, watch your candy and your cupcakes and your ice cream. A little bit, like if you got the little cup of Haagen-Dazs, you're probably okay with it. I find like if you need and you get the 6 Oreos it's you're controlling. I'm only having 5 or 6. I think your body's okay with that if you have it on Monday and then don't have anything Tuesday, Wednesday. So I think if you're in moderation, but only after your blood pressure and blood sugar are down. So phase 1 is I had 180 blood pressure and I got it down to 120. Then I could start having some cookies or ice cream, but very limited, little, 6 Oreos on Monday and nothing Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Or I would always like Sunday would be my day because I'm not working, I'm sleeping in, I'm going to the gym. So Sunday would be my day to have an ice cream or a cake. I mean, it's not like you don't have any, but you got to be very careful with it. And that's really the key to it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed class. Very good. And I like when I can bring in the real world examples of what happened to me. Because I was at the grocery store and I said, can you believe this Jets pizza is $17? And I laughed and I said, I can go buy a New York strip. And the New York strip there was $13. So I could buy a New York strip instead of a pizza. And that just shows you the competition and the I keep fucking this word up. The competition and the substitution is what I'm trying to say. So you can substitute a pizza for a New York strip, and the competition is also I can go to the grocery store and buy a nice piece of meat or steak or salmon or chicken. I can do that very nicely that I can't do that instead of a pizza. Pizzas and Subways are probably the 2 worst things you can eat, and then McDonald's and Wendy's. Any of these processed foods and any high fructose corn syrup are why people are dying and getting cancer, having heart problems. So you do it to yourself by eating this crap. And that's what people don't understand. And then everybody's on diet is diabetic. Yeah, because you're eating half the shit has all this sugar in it, like bread, like these other things. And that's what you're doing it to yourself, but you don't know you are. This is the problem I have with these companies. They're very misleading. They don't tell you. How can they? Well, we're going to give you diabetes. Eat Lucky Charms. I mean, they can't tell you that, or eat Wonder Bread, or eat Oreo cookies will give you diabetes. They won't tell you that, but that's exactly why you're getting it. And people's diets are so fucked up. Are you eating avocados and dark chocolate? And are you eating broccoli and celery and cauliflower and having a salad every day, or at least veggies? Today I didn't have a salad, but I had like 3 handfuls of my veggies, cauliflower, celery, peppers. I just poured it in a bowl, poured some dressing on it, and just ate them as the salad. And it was perfectly fine. Now I made chicken as I was doing early in the class, and that'll be tomorrow's, or I'll get Chinese. See, Chinese is only open Saturday. They're not open Sunday. Well, they're open every day but Sunday. So if I want Chinese, I got to get Saturday, especially now that I'm working. After working all day, I'm going to swim at night. I'm not going to go to the drive a half hour away to get Chinese food. So the only day I'm going to do it Saturday. That's why I do it sometimes. But then I might not eat it Saturday. Or I got my chicken, which is also going to be good for lunch for next week. But that's what I did. Worked from home. It's fine. I don't get as much work done because I only have the 1 small screen versus at work I got the 3 big monitors, so I could look at a file here and look and use it there. So I do have that. Like I said, I got this big project done, and I told my boss, well, now it's set up, and now it's just a matter of it's all set. So this is the first time we did it. We designed it. Now next month it's a piece of cake. You just here it's already set. You just got to change the dates. And so I'm pretty clever with that. So I'm always good at being productive and figuring things out that make it easy. So all I got to do each month is instead of taking 3 hours to do something, I set it up and take 3 hours, but then every month going forward, I'm highly productive. It takes 20 minutes to do it. And that's the difference. Anyway, that's what's going on. So have a good weekend. I will get back to you tomorrow. Tomorrow or Sunday. Without the football, I don't know, but we can always find stuff to talk about. I got a whole book of masters we can go through. And anyway, so have a good day. And I don't really get much into basketball. I really don't like it. I find there's no good players in it, not like Magic and Bird and Isaiah that you used to have. And I don't like this 3-point shot shit. It's not creative. It's stupid. It's really minor league. It's like baseball is all minor league. Oh, we'll just run pitchers out. We'll have bullpen day. I mean, well, you had Sandy Koufax and Bob Gibson for a reason. They would win the games for you. And now you've got it to the point where there's all just bullshit bullpen guys who come out for one inning and they still get hurt. It's just amazing how these guys are so unprofessional. Anyway, I think that's about it. So www.teaserking.com. Next week's the Super Bowl. This week, this was always a week you got freaked out. Like you're watching football and then nothing. And then next week's the Super Bowl and then nothing. But I think with YouTube, like today, I watched The Catch. I watched Frisco and Dallas. And it was like, oh, yeah, I can do that. I watched a little bowling, Earl Anthony and Mark Roth. Oh, yeah, okay, I can do that. So you still have that to keep you occupied, or some movies or stuff like that. So it's not as bad. Anyway, that's about it. www.teaserking.com. You want to email me, and I will probably see you either tomorrow or Sunday. Probably tomorrow, but we'll see. All right. Have a good night, everybody. And let me know if you have questions or comments. All right. Take care.